Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Adam here with Indie Farm Life. Standing out on the dock, and I'm going to do some long overdue maintenance on the pond. Most of my time this spring's been dedicated to the house, so I really haven't done what I needed to do to keep this pond looking nice. So today we're going to talk about algae blooms, how to prevent them, and how to combat them if you have them. So as we pan around the edge of the pond, you're going to see that we have some filamentous algae that has started to pop up on us. Now, what this stuff does is it grows from the bottom up, breaks apart and floats, and then will settle and reattach at the shoreline and other locations. Out there in the middle you can see some floating, but the higher concentrations of it are definitely on the shoreline. The silver lining to this kind of algae is that it's not blue-green algae and that it's not technically harmful, but still a nuisance. So what gives rise to these algae blooms? Well, there are really three factors. One, it's having low dissolved oxygen levels in your pond, which we currently do because we have nothing turning the water yet. Aeration is something I'm going to be working on here shortly, and I'll make some detailed videos about that decision and process. The second factor is high nutrient levels in the water. Again, we don't have anything turning the water, which means we don't have a lot of good bacteria in the water, which would consume these nutrients. We don't have fish yet helping out either. And the third is sunlight penetration into the shallows. Pond dye is a great way to prevent sunlight from reaching the bottom, but as you can see behind me, the pond's kind of greened up right now and it's not as blue as it once was, so sunlight is able to penetrate into the shallows. And like most things in life, prevention is much easier with algae than controlling it once you already have it. And the best prevention methods are aeration and pond dye. I do have the latter, but the former I don't currently have, and so we are where we are. Let's talk about what we're going to do to clean this pond up. Also, while on the subject, I should mention that we don't have suspended algae in this pond. This pond is green because of the dye, the remaining dye that's in there. I'll grab a water bottle real quick and just show you how clean the water is in this pond first. Show you guys some of this water. So there you go, fairly clear stuff. Actually looks pretty darn good. No suspended algae, just the floaters. So what's the answer? At least I hope. Copper sulfate. Never used it before, but like most things I do, I did a lot of reading ahead of time and I've read lots of good things. So you can buy this stuff in a lot of different places. I know Tractor Supply does carry it. I got this from Amazon, shock. These are little dried pellets. And so just dissolve it in water and spray it on top of the algae. I think from what I read, roughly 5 pounds of this, which is what this one here is, for a 1 acre pond, which is what we have, even though it's not completely full, and dissolve it in about 3 to 4 gallons of water. I'm just going to put it in a 4-gallon backpack sprayer and spray it on all of this. Couple items to be aware of if you do go this solution. You're only supposed to spray about half or a third of the pond in one round because this will kill all the algae on contact and then deplete your oxygen levels. This is mostly if you have a lot of aquatic life, fish, etc. We don't, so I'm not really too concerned about depleting the oxygen levels. They're already really low. So I may go ape, as I typically like to do. For that very reason I just mentioned, you're also supposed to wait about 14 days between applications. Again, not a factor in what I'm doing here. So I'm just gonna spray and pray, baby, and see what happens. So I'll mix some of this up in a backpack sprayer, put that on. It will turn the pond a little bit blue because of the color itself, but then I'm going to throw a lot of pond dye in as well. So I'll first mix up that copper sulfate and get that sprayed, show you guys that process real quick, and then we'll toss some dye in, and I'll probably circle back in about 36 to 72 hours and give you guys a look at the pond. Okay, so I got a batch mixed up. I ended up only going with half of the 5 pounds, so 2.5 pounds of copper sulfate into the 4-gallon tank there. I'll probably end up spraying all of it anyway, but I want to make sure I have enough coverage. I don't spray through the 4 gallons too quickly, so it may take me a little bit longer to spray it since I'm going to maybe go through it twice, but I wanted to make sure I at least got coverage on everything once. Plus I thought it'd dissolve a little easier. I did like 1.5 gallons of water, hot water, and then poured that in and then topped it off. I am putting on some latex gloves, some black ones to help pull the sun in a little bit more since it's 80 degrees and I've got 4 gallons of hot water on my back now. This stuff can be absorbed through the skin though, so it's advisable to stay out of the water for about 24 hours after you spray. By then, most of the copper sulfate will have dropped to the bottom of the pond. no longer be suspended. It's gonna take a while. So I was able to make almost a full lap around the pond with that first batch. Now I'm gonna mix up the second batch and hit it again. I won't video that part, but you guys got the idea. Actually, even right here in front of me, it looks like it's already kind of making some of the stuff sink to the bottom. It could have been just a spray though, knocking it down. Also, when I do go to put the dye in, well, two things. One, I think I might put it in an old sprayer I have, because I think it'd be really cool to see dye sprayed into a pond as opposed to tossing it. I'll show you the far side of the pond where the edges are a lot steeper. Much less algae growth over there than in the shallows where sunlight can penetrate. I'm not sure if I mentioned that or not, but that's something you could always do whenever you build a pond, is cut your edges even steeper like that far side, so you don't have to fight this stuff. Okay, I got all that sprayed in. You can see some of the blue floating there. But now it's time for the real blue and the stuff that's more fun. I'm gonna put a gallon of pond dye in that sprayer, probably against my better judgment, but sounds like fun. Could be an absolute mess. But I'm gonna go to the far east side of the pond where the wind always comes in this way off that field. So won't be spraying against the wind, hopefully, and could be fun. Also, if you've never used pond dye before or ever seen it in action, I encourage you to flip back to the video I posted last year, and I'll link it above, of when I first put this dye in, when the pond was completely fresh and had no dye in it. It was pretty incredible to see it work its way through the pond and to go from nothing to a tropical oasis. It's got a nice green color now. This baby's gonna be as blue as that raft over there by the end of the day. All right, wind, don't fail me now. This could be a disaster. Nope, it's awesome. That might be the coolest thing I've ever done out here. I like the shelf that it makes as it makes its way across the pond. I'm gonna spray a little bit over on that far side where all the algae was, just so I know that we got it covered well. I got probably about a quarter gallon left. I think that's all I'm gonna put in. I'm not gonna probably do any more than that, given that it already had some color. I think it's gonna take as much as it did last summer. Can't take it out once you put it in. Okay, so I got a gallon or just over sprayed into the pond. I don't know if the camera will pick up the shelf cloud that's kind of moving toward us in the water or not, but it's making its way over. You can see all my algae is blue over there now. And here, I'll give you an up close of it at a high concentration. Very, very potent stuff. A lot of times in the comments of my other video, people will ask, how do you swim in that? Surely it stains your clothes and skin, right? Well, in the undiluted form, yeah, absolutely. But in 24, 48 hours, it'll be fully dissolved in the water, and it doesn't stain your swimsuit, your skin, won't hurt any fish. It's great stuff, and it looks really pretty. Okay, so the copper sulfate is in. Hopefully it does its job. That's kind of a band-aid. It's not really the fix that we're after, but should at least clean things up for a while until I get some air out here to start turning things. The dye is a preventative measure. It, along with air, go a long way, but I'll circle back in probably 48 hours, 36 hours, something like that, and give you guys a shot of the pond. Hopefully I have good news. All right, so here we are about 72 hours later. Obviously the dye did a wonderful job, and the algae starting to die off. You can still see quite a bit floating out in the pond, but that's actually a good thing. As you look at the shoreline, you can see that it's dying from where it was actually attached and then just kind of floating. So that stuff should sink to the bottom and be clear before too awful long, maybe 24 hours or so. But you can see the shoreline here, how thinned out it is now. So the copper sulfate seems to be doing its job thus far. Again, more of a band-aid than a permanent fix, but I'm pleased with the results so far. So if I have to use this on occasion, I definitely will in the future. But getting some aeration out here to turn this water is the end-game goal. Hopefully that was helpful and informative for some of you out there who might be in a similar situation. And if I did anything wrong or way off base, please comment below. I love hearing from you guys and learning from the experience of others. So if you would, hit that subscribe button, come back and see us. We'll see you guys next time. And for further documentation purposes, this is after 5 days. Looks a whole lot better. And look for a video regarding our new canopy for the dock here in the next couple weeks. Big improvement.